Hello to all my Neverwinter viewers. This is my new updated mod 30 build for the Control Wizard. A quick disclaimer, as always, English is not my main language, so forgive me if I make some mistakes. So this build is optimized for the new content, the new Dread Sanctum dungeon, specifically for the master one. We have a lot of damage with this build. I think this is the highest damage build possible, but you can leave a comment if you think there is something that I can change. But we can reach all stat caps, and I will show you at the end of the video with some calculations, and with everything procced and with some bonus from the group we can reach all stat capped. And we also have a lot of item level, so much more than the build that Aragon made. So let's quickly go into the gear. So we start with the head and the chest. Those are from Master Layer of the Mad Dragon, like before. We have this one that gives 10% combat advantage when full procced. This one gives 7.5% combat advantage and accuracy, so 15% total stats. Really good. Also because as wizard we struggle to get accuracy capped, so this one helps a lot. I will show you the single target one that is basically the same of the AoE gear wise. There are some differences, but I will show you later. I focus mainly on single target, specifically the one for multi-targets, because in the new dungeon we have the second and the third boss that spawns mobs. So we always have 3 or more enemies basically, except the first boss that is really easy, so we don't focus a lot on that. So going forward, for the arms we have the new one that gives 9% critical severity when procced. This one, as I said, you can use it only in AoE or mixed fight, but we don't really care about the first boss, and all the other content basically we can really breeze through every content, so we don't really need to focus a lot on single target. But I will show you later a build, a version of this build for single target specifically. So we have this from the new Dread Sanctum master version that gives 9% critical severity. This one drops from the first boss, so really easy to get. We are using the perfect set because those gives 250 damage and 10% total stats, because they give 5% critical severity and 5% critical strike, plus damage reduction when our stamina is low. So it's much better than the new set that I'll show you now, that you can get from the Dread Sanctum. I could already make it, but it gives less damage, and even if it has more item level, I will lose also 5% crit strike, so it's not better in my opinion than the perfect one. Also because it takes longer to reach all stats. It needs like 30 seconds total to get 5% critical severity and 3.5% power. Instead, the perfect one, it takes only 20 seconds to reach the maximum stats, and they stay even after death. So I think those are way better. And yeah, they also give 3% damage flat, so the new set doesn't give any damage bonus. We go on the boots. Those are new also. They give in new content up to 10% accuracy when our action points are lower than 80%, so almost every time. Those are really good to reach the new to reach like 90% accuracy even for us wizard, because we struggle a lot. This set, the same as before. You can also use the normal one, not necessarily the plus one. This is just because I wanted a little bit more item level. Those gives 7.5% accuracy and recharge speed and 15% recharge speed, but those are best in slot for wizard because they give a lot of intelligence that basically is a boost to our damage, so it's very important. You can use also the one from Defense of the Moonlight, the one that gives combat advantage, but I don't really needed combat advantage, so I prefer that overall. This new ring, you can buy it from the store with currency or drop from I believe master version of the new dungeon. This one is really good. Not a lot for his equip bonus because yes, it gives 5% on new content, but because it has a lot of ratings. So we use this because it has almost 10,000 critical severity, so we can use it instead of those boots, and it gives a lot more item level and also some power. That is very good. So a lot of ratings. I use this one for extra critical strike. It gives a 5000 combat advantage, some critical severity, and it also gives extra 2.5 critical severity when are multiple targets. So very good also. This shirt, I think there are not so many options out there for wizard. This one I think is the best because it gives 7500 power when stamina is over 75%, so it's very good. I use the version with accuracy and critical strike. I forgot to say that this one you drop from Master Defense of the Moonlight, and this one drops from the Xerix Invasions in Wild Space, not Defense of the Moonlight, because in Aragon in his video said maybe he misspelled the location of this shirt. You get this from the Xerixin Invasions. And those are the new pants. They give 9% critical severity when you are healed. You can proc this also by yourself, not only from healers. If you have these boons, this boon life lesson, every time you do an at-will attack, you proc a little heal, and this one proc these trousers, so you basically have all the time 9% critical severity. I think those pants are really the best. You don't really need to have these mythic ones. You can also get the legendary one from the advanced version of the dungeon. I will quickly show you. Those are basically the same thing. Okay, ability score, all dexterity and intelligence. Intelligence for the damage, dexterity for extra critical severity. If you don't need this critical severity, you can go with charisma for some extra recharge speed, but you gotta really be a tryharder to do this. For the enhancement, I basically revolved all my build on the enhancement that I already had, and also with the insignias that I already had, because I didn't really had a lot of critical severity and power, so I tried to fix this problem with the gear. But you can use different gear if you have like different insignias. If you have dominance, insignias, brutality, you can swap this one with critical severity with the one that gives 9000 critical strike, so you can pick the ring that you prefer based on your build. As I said, for the enhancement I'm using those that gives power, this one that gives a little bit accuracy, this one for the forte, this one doesn't really care, you don't care. Overload, I'm using Devil Precision for extra critical strike and accuracy, and here I usually run Rage of Flames, but only in master content. Celestial Lightning Flash, it's the best, it gives 10.8% accuracy and critical strike, so I think there are not really other options at the moment. This one for the extra recharge speed bonus, but you don't really need this if you need to prioritize I mean prioritize first other things. This one is the last you should focus on. Artifacts, the primary you can use wherever your team needs. I'm using for the support ones, I'm using for their stats, the pistol, the new one. You can get this from heroic encounters if you're really lucky in the new map or in the new campaign store after the 4th week. I'm using Arturia music box and this one for their stats, so you can use wherever you need as stats here. Okay. For powers, those are the one I use in a single target, pretty basically, nothing special here. You can pause the video and copy that. This one for the AoE. Has boons, you can pause the video. Something I will tell you is very important is bloodlust, absolutely your first priority for damage. Then you can focus on life lessons for the heal I told you before, and also for some extra damage. And I also focused on this one because this one can give you 6% extra power if you get healed more than 10% of your total heal, so in one hit. So it's really good. Also it can help you sometimes to cap power, but it's not really reliable, so prioritize those two first. Stronghold boons, I'm using power, defense, movement speed, but you can also, I suggest you to use revive sickness. I'm using this one only because I now know the dungeon really well, so I don't really die a lot. This one helps me with the pool and stuff, and also to avoid tentacles and stuff, but I suggest you to use this one instead. Okay, for companions, now we can upgrade our companion to Celestial. I'm using Adrian for single target because she has a lot of damage, and she gives 2% power and 2% crit strike. But you can use wherever your team needs, like Flapjack, Tutor, Portobello, and everything else. I have 10 Celestial Companions, so we get 120% bolster with the new upgrade. Very important, I suggest you to upgrade and buy if you don't have Raptor, because it gives totally 22% power, I believe, and it's a must in new content. So probably people will not even invite you if you don't have Raptor in master content. Minsk also really good now, upgraded in at Celestial, gives 9.8% damage, and Batiri now 14%, so a shit ton of damage. Also the Neverwinter Knight gives now 9% extra damage at Celestial, so those three are the best in slot for DPS, especially in single target. Here I'm just using the book imp for accuracy and combat advantage because I needed those stats. This is the equipment from the previous campaign that gives accuracy and combat advantage, and the Celestial Companion enchantment. Those are my insignias. They are a mix between skill, aggression, brutality, basically the one that I had before. Those are my colors: critical severity 5%, encounter powers, movement speed, stamina gain because we have the shirt that procs at 75%, and this one for rough AD, but we don't really care, we just use it for item level. I'm using one Executioner Covenant that gives these extra ratings, it helps with caps. Tactician Precision for the cooldown reduction, Enchanter Sext for the extra damage. This one you can use something else if you have. I already had this from the previous mod and it gives extra damage to companion, but not really important. And this one gives extra critical strike, critical severity, outgoing healing and power. You lose some defensive stats, but we don't really need them as DPSs. Okay, so now that I showed you basically all the gear, I will tell you how we get all the stats kept to 100 to 20% and 90% for accuracy and critical strike. So let me give you some calculation. For power, basically, I will tell you how we get those. Blasted advantage is procced, so we quickly remove 6% from this stat. Okay, so we start at 95.6%. Oh, I forgot to tell you that I use this spider totem that gives me extra 2.5% combat advantage and some random stats between critical strike, accuracy and power that helps. And my consumables are Wildstorm Elixir, Flask of Potency, rank 3, and Squash Soup, and Ratatouille for extra 4000 accuracy. Now, back to the stats. We have 95.6% power. Let me see if my potions are all active. Okay, let's use the Flask of Potency and Squash Soup. Okay, now let's start from 95.6% power plus 18% from the Raptor, if we are in a full Raptor group, plus 3.5% from Portobello, because basically every endgame group has a Portobello, so 3.5% extra extra stats from that. And we can also get some power from Runic Aura and Mystic, but we are already almost at rating cap, so we can at max add another 2%, 2000 stats in power. So we already are at 119%, but we need to add Adrian, because we are using Adrian, and we are over 120%, 120%. And we also need to add some more stats that you can get from armor procs and stuff. So power is fully capped and also over the cap, so we are really set with that. Accuracy, we start at 61.6% because we are less than 80% action point, so we proc these boots, and we had 10.8% from the Celestial Lightning enchant, and we are at 72.4 plus 7.5 from the armor plus 7.5 from this set. So we are at 87.4, and I'm not using the Ratatouille, so we had 4% from the Ratatouille and we are at 91.4, so over 90% accuracy, we are capped. Critical strike, we are at 77%, we gotta add 5% from the set, and we are at 82 already, plus 10.8% from the Celestial Lightning, so we are already over 90%. And we also should add like some other things like healer armor, the crit from the Pelly, and we could also add the 2% from Adrian, but we are already capped on that, so critical strike is not a problem. Combat advantage, we start at 77%. Let me see if I procced. Okay, so we have 2.5% from the totem, so we start at 79.5% plus the 10% from the cap plus the 7.5% from the armor. Okay, and we are on 97%. We are using this one for the as a companion enhancement that gives a 9% critical combat advantage when our companion attacks. So we gotta add 9%, and we are at 106%. Now we can add 5% from Flapjack, 5% from Tudor, and 3.5% from Portobello. So we are at 119.5% combat advantage. So basically capped, we are missing 0.5% on combat advantage, not a big deal actually. In the end, we have critical severity starting at 97.7%. We can add 5% from the weapon set, plus 9% from the arms, plus 9% from the trousers, and we are at 120.7% critical severity. So we basically have all the stats capped, and we can deal the maximum damage with the 3 good companion that gives extra damage. So basically we can nuke literally everything with a good group composition, good companions. I'll quickly show you the differences between multi-target. This one is the version that I use for pure single target fights. There are some differences, but it's not really important. And for AoE, I just swapped the Batiri for extra critical strike and combat advantage, so that I don't need to wait for this to proc when I'm in multi-target fights with mobs. But mobs we don't really care about mobs, because even in the new dungeon there are really few of them, so you should focus on the single target mainly, because the bosses are they are the start of a dungeon. So with this build you can easily go through that. Hope you enjoyed this build. Leave a comment and a like if you liked the video, and you can give me some suggestion if you think there are some things that I missed or that I can get better in this build. Hope you enjoyed.